Hey, this is James Miller for VFX Nomad, and here we're continuing our introduction to Clarisse. Here we're going to do importing and layout. To make this super simple, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from 0. So we're going to go new, we're going to say empty. Therefore, now we have a scene with absolutely nothing in it. What we're going to do is we're going to create our first context, and we're going to call this Geo. So you right click context, and then F2 is for rename, and we're going to say Geo. And in here, what we're going to do is we're going to import a couple different types of geometry. Now, if you wanted to make geometry an arbitrary object, you go new geometry and then choose what it is you want to make. That's one way to get there. You can make a file and you can import stuff. But the way I like to do it is we're going to go file import, and here we go. So under geometry, this is basically going to look for an OBJ file. In the associated files with this lesson, there are going to be a few different objects. If we look at all, we can see that there's a texture, a couple of lembics, the actual project file. But when we clicked on geometry, it's saying it can only see the duck. So the duck is a .obj, which is why it works here. Do we want to import the OBJ materials? No, I don't. Okay, so there we are, duck. Next thing that we want to do is we want to import the alembics. Now, when you want to import an alembic, it's going to be scene, all right? It's slightly confusing. So you're going to import, in essence, a scene. So we're going to import these two alembics here, the water sim and the basic tub. The main difference that you can see here is the OBJ is one object, whereas when it brings in the alembic, it makes a folder. And within the folder, it has, in this case, this is one piece of geo. But in the case of the tub, we can see that there are a bunch of different parts to it. So this is just a basic thing that I made just to show you how this works. These are our originals, right? And just for the sake of argument, I'm going to create a sphere as well, okay? So the sphere is sitting down here on the floor. So Alt and drag, and then we can look around, right? Now, this thing here that says project, that is another Clarisse scene. If you wanted to import, or you wanted to share a file with somebody else, but you wanted to import it as opposed to open it, that's what you would use. Volume is for a volumetric effect, which we'll get over in some other lessons because it's a little different, but it's a lot of fun. So we'll get there, don't worry. We just need to get through this boring bit first. So why did I make a folder called Geo? Well, next to this folder called Geo, I'm going to make a folder. I'm going to make a folder and I'm going to call it layout. Now, the main strength of Clarisse is that it can render an awful lot of geometry without a lot of fuss, really. And the way we lay things out in Clarisse, the way we look at things, is we're going to look at what's called a combiner. So a combiner is, in essence, it's like a null, really. And you attach your original object to this null. Here's a combiner on its own in the scene. If we press F to focus on it, it's just showing us a place in space. Now, on the right-hand side here in the attribute editor, we are going to attach our whatever it is that we decide wants to be associated with this combiner. So we scroll to the bottom, and in this case, we're going to pick the duck. So here we go, we have a duck. And if you wanted to make, let's say, 3 ducks. Let's give it a name before we start copying things. So duck 1. All right, and then I'm just gonna copy and paste that a couple times. So Control C, Control V. And now I have 3 ducks. So duck 3, you go over here, and duck 1, you can go over here. Now what we haven't done is imported 3 ducks. We just have 3 instances of this duck. So I click here. We're still just on 1, okay? Now, as you can already see, it might get a bit annoying going between this folder and it shows us everything, and this folder and it shows us something else. So if you ever just want to look at one particular folder, the easiest way to do that is to just click and drag this over to the top right-hand corner, and it locks it to this context. If I now go over to Geo, it stays looking at the layout folder, okay? This is just, you'll know as and when you want to do that or look at it. So there's our 3 ducks, And then just to finish laying out this scene so we can do some more fun stuff, we are going to say, all right, I want the water sim. Here it's quite easy. We've just got one object. So we're going to scroll out. Sorry, I should have just pressed F. So there's your water, okay? And then the last thing that we're going to want, so let's give it a name, but then the last thing that you're going to want is going to be the tub, all right? So again, we make a combiner. Here we call it tub. And then we go to add something to it. Now with the tub, I didn't combine it before I exported it. So what we can do is shift select all of it, press apply, and then it's all in here. That does work, but it could be a little messy if you, let's suppose, wanted to break it into different parts. You might not want to do it that way for whatever reason. What you can do is you can go in here and you can make a group. So the groups in Clarisse are just collections of bits of geo. So you can either, with a group, you can either make it an object list. So what does that mean? Here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this, okay? So I've clicked on the group, and I'm just going to lock it. The reason for that is I then want to shift select all of these guys, and I want to drag and I want to drop it into here. All right, I made a group, I locked it so that it wouldn't change when I clicked on something else. I selected all these bits of geo here. The green ones are geo, the white ones are like parents. And then I dropped it into the group. So I'm going to call this group tub group. All right. Now, if you look here, you're going to see that it also has an option of a rule. This is a bit more complicated. We won't go into it right this minute. But if you're happy with writing paths in Linux or whatever, it's exactly the same. So you could say geometry / basic tub / star, and it would pick everything that was in this folder and then add it to the group. But for the sake of this, we're just going to keep it simple. We're just going to call it tub group. So come back over here to the tub. I need to release the lock. So now I'm looking at this tub. All right, now I want to add something to it. Instead of selecting all of these, I can just select the tub group. All right, and here we go. So we have a tub now. It's in here. We've got the water and we have the ducks. All right. So that is in essence how we are going to lay out our scene. You can now pick up the ducks and dress them any which way you like on this water. And in the next one, we're going to apply some materials to these guys.